and you knock one of them out as a cop, are all the other cops going to tell on you? And if the three that you're with don't tell on each other and you're the rookie, those two cops realize, hey, we can groom this guy to run illegal raids, and then you're kind of in that.
Well, the Nazis called that the cement of blood. They learned very early on they had to get you to commit a little crime, a bad thing.
Or you'll tell on each other.
And then soon you were lining children up, blowing their heads off. And it's gang mentality. Why do they have a East Side Vato here in Austin go knock over an innocent old lady to become an intermade member? That's now they have dirt on them. Now they've proven they're ruthless. Now they've proven they're part of the gang, and that's their weird little subculture. Well, you look at police, it's gang psychology.
You're exactly right. And that's what happened to me, and that's what's still happening to law enforcement, because there's not a checks and balances that there should be.
Continuing through, some of the things you've done, some of the things you witnessed, the most important points.
As far as being a police officer or an
activist?
Sure,
kind of your story.
I don't want to feel like I'm repeating anything, but, I started out as one of the nation's top drug cops, raiding houses and seeing kids harmed by my police efforts, and then I realized it was my ego. I loved the same being on news. I enjoy being on the news now, but the motive's different.
Yeah.
See, and my motive now is to get the prisoners out. And whatever it takes, and we have some plans up our sleeves, and I know the psychology of the cops. For instance, what you were talking about, how they have you do something bad so each other won't get told on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I used knowing that against the police recently. I had a bomb that I was going to drop on the Odessa case on the internet, but I didn't drop it right away. I held it, and I announced Monday I will be revealing some information that will get at least one of the cops involved fired. Well, the reason I didn't release that till later is because all the cops read that on that blog, and now they're worried. Who's telling on me? So I got them fighting against each other for that short amount of time, and that's when cops start telling on cops. They will tell on each other if you put enough pressure on one or two of them. And part of our Cop Busters saga is to get some of these police to be our informants to turn over other cops. I only had 3 men out of the 800 I arrested that I can remember that I couldn't flip into an informant. I flipped everybody into an informant, and I'm going to do the same with the police. I'm going to catch a cop with a little bit of cocaine with our cameras and then explain to him, look, if I air this, you'll lose your job, your wife, you'll probably go to jail, or you can help me set up a cop over here doing 10 kilos of cocaine. So I'm going to use the same tactics the government taught me that I use to put citizens in a cage, and I'm going to flip that around on them because they're causing the true harm on Americans.
They're the ones doing it.
Hell, I can't drive from here to my own house without worrying about going into a cage because I have a joint in my ashtray. But you can have cases of beer, and it's no problem. And I'm a good parent. I don't belong in a cage.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back to what you said about it's the law, so I'm going to put this kid with some marijuana in a jail cell and let him get raped. But wait a minute. But then they don't bust the jail guards that are raping the children. They selectively don't, even though it's the law. The Texas Rangers went, caught him, and they were told by the higher-ups, you're not doing anything.
It makes no sense.
So I mean, look, your boss is shipping in. There's this local police officer who has a radio show, and I've heard him on air. There's certain talk show hosts around here who say the government ships drugs. I just can't believe it. That's made up. There's been thousands of cases where they've been caught, huge cases where they catch 18-wheelers full of drugs, and the FBI just comes and takes it and keeps it, or police steal it out of the lockups, or that plane crash with 3.5 tons of pure cocaine on a CIA aircraft in Mexico.
I wonder if he would believe that the narcotics investigator, the DA's narcotics investigator for Yoakum County here in Texas, current narcotics investigator, secretly sold me the drug dog false alerting. I paid him $1,300 for that, and I used that footage in traffic stops, and he knew what it was for. And then a year later, he took his illegal FLIR camera and went and FLIR'd a grow room for me, and I paid him $1,000 for that. And that footage is in my Never Get Busted. And I burnt him for this reason. As he was paying me for the footage to teach people how to get by police without going into a cage, he was announcing to the media, you can look it up on the internet, the AP articles, his name's Richard Dixon. He was telling the press, well, Barry was one of the top narcotics officers, but he's just making these films now for the money. The whole time he had $2,300 in his pocket helping me make that film.
Well, they always say that.
That's the hypocrisy of our men in blue right now. And listen, it's not, oh, well, there's a few bad apples and the rest are good. That might have been back in the 50s or 40s. I don't know. I didn't live back then, but that's not today. The majority of them are corrupt, and I'll go as far to say all of them are corrupt because they're working with a corrupt penal code that's against the Constitution. A test of a society's freedoms is how many are in jail and how many are not, and we have failed that test.
We have more than any other nation in the world.
In the whole world.
I want to explain. China has 400 million people, and they have less than us. Now, I want to go back to something you were saying because it's so important. Just as, just expanding on that, Rosa Parks, arresting her, saying it's the law. The police know, and I've talked to a lot of them, they know that most of the narcotics are brought in by the federal government. Again, I mean, this is a joke. And I don't like pulling up to a checkpoint and having cops ask me if I've got drugs because I don't use them. Other than this coffee right here, and it's probably just about as bad. So by that I mean illegal things. I don't use prescription, illegal. Though I did take one of those anti-allergy over-the-counter things, Claritin this morning because the cedar fever around here. But anyways, I mean, it's just, I can't believe they sit around making excuses. So because you were a top narcotics officer and you were in this culture, let me understand this. So when they get up on the news and say we're trying to help the children, we're trying to fight drugs, they consciously know it's just a big business and they're just mercenary pirates?
I'm not sure. It depends on what level they're at. The guys in top government know that. The lower guys in the task force, like I was, somehow I really believed I was saving a kid from getting this marijuana on a playground somewhere because I had been told that. But through several years of investigation, I'm like, I've never caught one person on a playground trying to sell our kids drugs. And to come to think about it, I don't know of any kids that have died of an overdose in my community. It's just not true.
Well, I'll tell you another story. When I was in 6th grade, and again, I knew people dealing drugs, but to housewives and people, older kids, big brothers. And I told you the story about once I was in high school, they called me in and said, we know you're stealing stereos. I said, I don't steal anything. I'm not known for that. What are you talking about? And they said, look, you're going to inform for us. And I said, I'm not involved with anything. I'm not. And they got real mad. When I was in 6th grade, they were doing this to a lot of kids. It wasn't just me that this is being singled out. They would have another kid come over and say, I want you to sell me marijuana. I know you've got marijuana. And for week after week after week after week, ask me. And I was just now learning that there were 6th and 7th graders who had big brothers, whatever, who could get marijuana. And I'll never forget, finally, after months of this kid asking me, I said, well, Bobby over here, I don't remember the kid's name, I think he can do it. Just talk to him. And then a month later, I heard there's a big drug bust and, the news and the parents are all concerned. And the little kid brought a roach to sell the other kid who was their little informant because they kept begging. There was no drugs in there. Yeah. There was no, but they wanted to say our intermediate 6th, 7th grade or middle school, it was 6th, 7th, 8th grade in the same complex. There's drugs everywhere. There weren't. Yeah. I mean, but it turned out this kid was going around to everybody. I mean, I'm in the football field house. He's going, I hear you got marijuana. I hear you deal it. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't. I mean, I wasn't even smoking pot at that time. But anyways, it's just...
That's our parents' fault and our grandparents' fault. They should have been up at the school saying, whoa, you're adults. You're not going to act like this over a roach. He shouldn't have brought it to school. And what cops got him to do this anyway? And then all the parents go to the police station and say, you're not going to treat our kids like that?
They bust the one little kid for the roach or whatever. They call me into the office and they say, admit you were involved in the drug deal. And I said, you guys know that you had that other kid, come over and do this. And I guess there were so these people. I didn't know I was smart when I was in 6th grade, but I'll never forget. Anyways, I'm taking up all the time.
No,
that they then sent me back to class, and then the next day called my dad and said, "We need you to come here." And they were like asking my dad in the meeting, how does he know to say no to all this? What's he involved in? What are you involved in? And but it wasn't just me. The whole school was about harassing and trying to get. And now kids get in a fist fight, they get arrested instead of just being broken up and
bring a coach in and let the boys box it out a little bit.
But I mean exactly. The schools are these